The Blood on the Walls, a German Shepherd's Silent Heroism. When a dog owner returns home from vacation, he's horrified to see blood splattered across his walls. But it's not until he locks eyes with his German Shepherd that the shocking truth is revealed. James stepped through his front door. The break had done him good. He felt lighter, calmer. Still, it was nice to be home. He was eager to reunite with his German Shepherd, Max. But the moment the door clicked shut behind him, a strange chill settled in his chest. The house was silent, too silent. Max didn't come bounding to greet him like he always did. Confused, James kicked off his shoes and started calling out to his dog, checking each room as he went. But when he reached the living room, he stopped cold. Blood. It was everywhere, smeared on the door, spattered across the walls. His heart pounded. "Max!" he shouted, more urgently now. A few moments later, the sound of paws echoed from the stairs. Max appeared, tail low, eyes wide. He was trembling. James knelt. "Are you hurt, buddy?" Max didn't appear to be bleeding. There were no wounds, just fear. And something else. Guilt? With cautious steps, James approached the living room. He nudged the door open with his foot. What he saw made him gasp. The room was a disaster zone. Cabinets emptied, sofa cushions torn and flung, books ripped and scattered across the floor. It was chaos. Pure, terrifying chaos. Max whimpered. James turned to look at him, then back at the destruction. A realization began to take shape in his mind. This wasn't an accident. It wasn't some nervous episode from being left alone. His home had been broken into, and Max had fought to defend it. Just a week earlier, life had been peaceful. James, a quiet history professor in Ridgewood Park, Virginia, had carved out a cozy life. His cottage, nestled in lush greenery, was his sanctuary. It wasn't big or flashy, but it was his. Max had been by his side for years. The German Shepherd was more than a pet. He was family. James had rescued him as a puppy, abandoned with his siblings on the side of the road. Since then, they'd been inseparable. Max greeted him every day after work with boundless joy. In return, James gave him a life full of safety, love, and long walks in the woods. James never married, no kids. But between his students, his friends, and Max, his life felt full. After a stressful school year, James finally decided to take a vacation. Just a week away in a quiet mountain cabin. But the biggest challenge was finding someone to care for Max. Most places didn't allow dogs. Over coffee, James mentioned his dilemma to Emily, a longtime friend. She lived just a few blocks away and had always adored Max. "I can check in on him," she offered. "Walk him, feed him. You go relax." Grateful, James agreed. The day he left, Max watched him pack with wary eyes. James bent down and rubbed the dog's ears. "I'll find us a getaway we can take together next time. Promise?" The mountains were everything James had hoped for, quiet, calming, restorative. Emily kept in touch daily with updates on Max, assuring him all was well until the last day. Emily called, sounding frazzled. An unexpected emergency had come up. She wouldn't be able to stop by that evening. But she'd already walked Max that morning and left extra food. "Don't worry," James said gently. "I'll be home in the morning." Driving back to Ridgewood Park, James felt relaxed. He missed Max and looked forward to making it up to him with a long walk. But when he pulled into his driveway, everything changed. He imagined Max at the door, tail wagging, tongue lolling. Instead, silence. He entered the house. No Max. Then the blood. His mind raced. Had Max injured himself? Was he bleeding somewhere? Then came the familiar sound of paws descending the stairs. Maximum. He looked okay, shaken, but not hurt. James examined him quickly, then looked around at the destruction. If Max wasn't bleeding, the blood wasn't his, it was theirs, the intruders. Max had defended the home. Shaking, James walked through each room. The study was destroyed too. Pages from old textbooks lay crumpled on the floor. Nothing appeared stolen, just trashed. Max never left his side. James was stunned. His home, his peaceful escape, had been violated. But worse was the realization that Max had been here, alone, when it happened. Terrified, outnumbered, and still he'd fought. James looked again at the streaks of blood. How badly had Max injured them? Were they still out there? And then a new fear crept in. Would the police see Max as a hero or as a liability? He had to report the break-in. It was the right thing to do. Still, a knot of dread tightened in his stomach as he dialed. The dispatcher assured him someone would be over shortly. Phone still in hand, James slumped to the floor. Max nudged his arm gently, then curled beside him. James wrapped an arm around his dog, whispering, "You were brave. So brave." Tears filled his eyes. He had left to escape stress, to find peace, and now he'd returned to blood-stained walls and shattered safety. But one thing remained unbroken, the bond between man and dog. Max hadn't just guarded the house. He had protected their world. And that was something no intruder could ever take away. Emily announced her arrival as she let herself in. She had come over to tell James that her family emergency had been resolved and to ask how his vacation went. But instead, she got the shock of her life. James was slumped on the floor, shaking and crying. His dog, Max, lay silently beside him. Without hesitation, Emily rushed to his side and wrapped him in a hug. As James sobbed into her shoulder, her eyes drifted to the walls and froze. They were splattered with blood. The color drained from her face. Leaning back, she whispered, "Are you or Max hurt?" James shook his head. With trembling concern, she gently asked what had happened. James looked broken as he explained his home had been broken into. Max must have tried to defend him. Emily was stunned. The one night she hadn't come by? This happened. Was it her fault? But James quickly reassured her. This had nothing to do with her. The intruders would have likely broken in regardless. In fact, it might have been even worse if she had been there. She could have been hurt, or worse. Their heart-to-heart was cut short by a loud knock on the door. It had to be the police. Emily gave James's hand a reassuring squeeze. She knew he was worried about Max. She was too, though she tried not to show it. Surely the officers would understand that Max had only been protecting his home. Thankfully, they did. The police praised Max for his bravery and informed James they would alert local hospitals to watch for anyone seeking treatment for dog bites. With any luck, they could track down the intruders. Officers began gathering evidence and checking for fingerprints, then took James's statement, though he couldn't offer much. They also asked Emily if she'd noticed anything strange during her visits with Max, but she hadn't. All they could do now was wait and hope. After the police left, James looked around at the mess. Blood, broken furniture, shattered peace. But he couldn't bring himself to clean up. He didn't want to be in the cottage. Not now. Emily saw it in his eyes. "I'm not taking no for an answer," she said firmly. "You and Max are staying with me for as long as you need." As James packed a few clothes, Emily loaded Max's bed, food, and toys into her car. It was the least she could do. James was shaken to his core, and Max clearly was too. Over the next few days, Emily did everything she could to help James regain a sense of normalcy. Being at her house helped. The presence of another person, the comfort of familiarity. It made the silence bearable. What James didn't know was that while he was recovering, Emily had quietly taken care of everything. She visited the cottage, spending countless hours scrubbing away the nightmare. She cleaned, repaired, and replaced anything damaged. She even repainted the walls. Slowly, she restored the cottage to the warm, inviting place it once was. No more blood. No more shadows, just home. She also researched home security systems and passed along the information, encouraging James to invest in better protection. Weeks passed. No new developments from the police. James couldn't understand how no one had shown up at a hospital with bite injuries. The amount of blood on the walls told a violent story. Still, he decided to move forward. He took Emily's advice and installed a top-notch security system. He also began taking Max on longer walks to help ease the dog's nerves and his own. Their training sessions continued, not only to keep Max sharp, but to remind him, "You did nothing wrong." When James finally returned to the cottage, he was stunned. He hadn't expected what he saw. Everything was spotless, restored. New cushions lined the sofa. A fresh stack of firewood sat by the log burner. Emily had gone above and beyond. He smiled, deeply moved. Emily had been his rock through it all. And now, as he stood there in his familiar home, he realized something had shifted. They'd grown closer, much closer. That evening, James sat by the fireplace with Max curled at his feet. He reflected on the trauma, the healing, and on Emily. She had always been a loyal friend, but now he wanted more. Taking a breath, James picked up his phone and sent a message. "Would you like to have dinner with me on Friday?" His heart pounded. Was this a mistake? Would it ruin what they had? But the break-in had taught him something important. Life is too short for regrets. His phone buzzed almost instantly. Emily's response, "I'd love to." James felt his heart soar. Across the room, Max lifted his head and wagged his tail, as if he could sense his human's joy. The break-in had been one of the worst experiences of James's life, but it had led to unexpected blessings. He'd come out stronger, closer to Max, and maybe at the beginning of something beautiful with Emily. As for the intruders, James had made peace with the fact they might never be found. But life was moving forward, and this time with purpose. If this tale moved you, if you felt the tension, the heartbreak, and the triumph, please support our channel by hitting the like button and subscribing. Your support means the world to us and helps us bring more thrilling, emotional, and inspiring stories your way. Leave a comment below and let us know what you think. Do you believe dogs have an extraordinary sixth sense? Share your thoughts and personal stories with us. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.